Hello, everybody. Dr. Kevin Connors here. We're going to talk about the COVID-19 virus that everybody's concerned about right now, the coronavirus, SARS, and cancer, and talk about some common threads as I was digging through some research here, trying to solve some problems for our patients and for everybody that's worried about this. Actually, Dr. Halderman sent me this really cool article from R&D Systems that talked about, it was just published in December of 2019, about ACE2 receptors. So ACE2 receptors is typically, we talk about ACE2 receptors in the endothelial cells. Those are the cells that surround your arteries. And we talk about them mainly for high blood pressure. That's what ACE inhibitors do. So ACE inhibitors inhibit this receptor so that the muscles, the smooth muscles that are just outside of the endothelial cells don't contract, and that's what causes high blood pressure. But what they're finding is that the coronavirus, as well as the SARS viruses, they're very similar viruses, the same family structure, use that ACE receptor to enter into the body, not to enter into the cells, but enter into the body. And that's the first line of defense then, is to figure out how to block the SARS and COVID using the ACE2 receptors. This article is very well researched, and you can look it up, and it's quite interesting information. We're going to look at a few of the paragraphs from this article. So this initially talks about what the coronavirus is. It is a virus, very small virus. All these viruses really started with animals as the initial host. All these, the SARS and the corona, started with bats, and then the secondary host with SARS and coronavirus were a little bit different. I think they're believing right now that the coronavirus secondary host was snakes. Maybe it was SARS that was snakes, I don't know, but there's different hosts, and these are all new to the human species, so that's why they are very virulent and can spread quite easily, because we really don't have antibodies for these viruses, because we've never been exposed to them. But some interesting things that, as you look at this article, it talked about the ACE2 receptor as it's a receptor in not just in your endothelial cells, but you have these receptors through your body. It's part of your renin-angiotensin system, the RAS system. We talk a lot about that with cancer, but certainly it's mainly spoken about with hypertension, because again, you that have affinity toward that receptor increases the tone of the smooth muscles underneath the endothelial and causes an increase in blood pressure. Now that's a normal thing that has to take place when you're under stress, or you're running, or you're exercising. Your blood pressure goes up, you're activating those ACE2 receptors. But we don't want those constantly activated, and that would cause high blood pressure at a resting state. So that's where ACE inhibitors come in to inhibit that connection with that receptor, so that we decrease the blood pressure. So initially, when the research was done on ACE2 with SARS, was that they thought they could use ACE2 inhibitors that would, just the same thing that they use for high blood pressure, that would decrease the SARS and the coronaviruses from attaching to and using those receptors. But it was found that it doesn't work that way. Using high blood pressure medication does not help prevent the virus. And they dug some little deeper, and they found out that they tested some different drugs, and they're in the process of testing these drugs again. This article was published in December 2019, so very recently. This drug, the TMPRSS1 and SS2, blocks the SARS-CoV entry. So it blocks the entry of the virus by blocking that, dislodging that receptor. So here's a good picture that they showed in this. Here's the virus itself using that ACE2 receptor to get into the body through the bloodstream and get into the body and then affect the person. Well, they found that initially thought, again, that ACE2 inhibitors would inhibit this and block this. It didn't work. And they found that anti-ACE2 antibodies did work. And that's the drugs that they're trying, at least one class of the drugs that they're trying to create to help prevent this virus from really attacking this person and getting in the person. So as I go down this rabbit trail, you start going, are there natural anti-ACE2 antibodies, natural things that work as ACE2 antibodies, instead of looking at the drug that they're looking at. So most of the studies that you look at, if you're digging into studies to try to solve a problem, most of the studies that are done are funded by pharmaceutical companies. So of course they're looking for novel pharmaceutical things that can be developed and patented to use as medication against diseases, which is great. That's what we want. But what we're looking for is, are there things that are already created by God that do the same thing or very similar things that we could use to solve the same problem? So as you dig into anti-ACE2 antibodies in the natural world, you come across some different articles. Here's an article that's not even a real new article. It was in the American Society of Microbiology, the Journal of Virology, about novel inhibitors of severe acute respiratory syndrome, coronavirus. Now understand there's multiple different types of coronavirus. And this is very well researched. This is just one page of the references. There's actually, I think, 75, 76 references in this article. So it's a very well researched article. But the three distinct mechanisms. Well, here's the mechanism that they found of the drug that they tested. Here's a drug that they tested here. Is this SSAA drug that they found that could inhibit the cathepsin L enzyme. So cathepsin L is an enzyme that's normal in your body that does certain things and degrades different proteins for a purpose. But what they found is that the way that this mechanism works for blocking the coronavirus and the SARS virus from entering the body at the ACE2 receptor, and the reason why ACE inhibitors don't work is that it really functions on this enzyme. So it inhibits the enzyme, and it's the inhibition of the enzyme that where these drugs can actually function. So then you go, okay, well, understanding this cathepsin L enzyme, what it does and how it can be inhibited, you start following down this rabbit hole. So please follow me with this. So this cathepsin L inhibitors, start searching for cathepsin L inhibitors, and you find some really interesting articles that are out there. Here's an article from 2014 that shows triterpenoids. Now, terpenes, that might be a familiar word for many of my listeners. We talk about terpenes and the benefit of terpenes in all sorts of things. A lot of the herbs, the way the herbs work, have to do with the terpenes that are naturally in the herbs. So terpenes are part of nature's system that can help with a lot of health things. Now, a triterpenoid is a very unique type of terpene. So they found in this article, they tested 14 different triterpenoids, or 14 different terpenoids, and they found that the triterpenoids actually worked as cathepsin L and cathepsin B inhibitors. And it was really interesting. Among the 14 compounds evaluated, it says right here, the most promising were these few right here. And I highlighted in red this one oleonic acid because this is the one that we can find in nature. So this one was found as a very good cathepsin L inhibitor. So again, going down this rabbit hole, what blocks the coronavirus and SARS from entering into the body? Well, one of the things can be is anything that can be an inhibitor to cathepsin L. These are some of the drugs that they're trying to develop right now. So then you start digging, what are some natural inhibitors to cathepsin L? And you find that these triterpenoids, and this one in particular we're going to talk about, is a good natural inhibitor of the cathepsin L enzyme. So where do you find this specific triterpenoid, this oleanic acid uh, triterpenoid? Well, in the leaves of the Japanese loquat tree contain a very precious substance called oleanic acid. Here we are. It also contains amygdalin, which is very interesting, and in particular this ursolic acid. These are pentacyclic triterpenes. So here's our terpenes again, these triterpenes, small amounts of which are also found in rosemary, apple peel, holy basil, and sage. So again, a lot of herbs have these triterpenoids in them. Well, ursolic acid and its isomer, oleanic acid, are chemically almost identical. Their structure differing only in the position of the methyl group. Both offer potentially important health benefits, such as preventing the development of cancer, inhibiting existing tumor cells, the growth of tumor cells, protecting against the side effects of chemotherapy and radiotherapy, and exerting anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, and antiviral activity. Well, how does it affect us with antiviral activity? By blocking that ACE2 receptor. That's where the coronavirus and the SARS entered the body. So ursolic acid extracted from the leaves of the Japanese loquat tree are shown to prevent the progression of cancer, promote muscle growth, and this is probably, prior to all of this, this is probably the primary reason that this is even made into a supplement, because bodybuilders tend to use the ursolic acid to help promote muscle growth. Now, I think from a cancer clinic perspective, you start thinking, wow, with cachexia issues, with loss of muscle density, with patients that are, in later stage cancer, this could be a great addition to help with cachexia, promotes muscle growth. It also has shown anti-aging effects, and of course, what we're talking about in this little discussion is the antiviral effects. So this product contains precious substances that we talked about, and you can find them in other things too. Interesting stuff. So this ursolic acid has traditionally been used for skin repairs from an herbologist's point of view, to repair damaged tissues and the cutaneous barrier of the scalp. So any wound healing. It protects the skin from photoaging, from sun and aging of the skin. It's a potential inhibitor of elastase, which is an enzyme present in the skin, so it helps with skin breakdown, so you have tighter skin, so that's kind of nice. So it's used for anti-aging purposes. But it's also, we talked about the antiviral effects, especially with herpes virus, adenovirus, enterovirus, and the coronavirus SARS through inhibition of the enzyme cathepsin L. So recent studies on rats have indicated that its inhibitory power on human leukocyte elastase for treatment of inflammatory lung disease such as H1N1 and SARS. It also has antimicrobial effects, so it can be beneficial for possibly tuberculosis, and potential for treatment for Alzheimer's because it inhibits the breakdown of the enzyme acetylcholinesterase. And acetylcholine is what's eaten up in the brain and diminished with Alzheimer's patients because one of the theories is because an excess amount of this enzyme that breaks down acetylcholine. So if you can block the enzyme that breaks down acetylcholine, you'll preserve acetylcholine in the brain and push out Alzheimer's. So this is kind of a neat supplement, and it could be a really cool addition to a lot of people. Here is the supplement itself. Now again, you can get this, the ursolic acid it is in holy basil. So if you are on typically holy basil is used as an adaptogen. It's in a few other things that I mentioned too, but it's very small a percentage, so we'll talk about that. You can read about this. I don't want to just read my slides, but it does block inflammatory COX-2 pathways. It can block the differentiation of the Th17 cells, so it helps with inflammatory cytokines. That's where it can really help with chemotherapy and radiation patients and the ill effects of that. It also neutralizes NF-kappa beta. We talk a lot about that in other cancer slides. NF-kappa beta is a huge inflammatory marker that is upregulated with a lot of cancer patients. So if we can block that, that could be very beneficial. So just talking about it, not even with the coronavirus or SARS, but talking about it as a cancer um, benefit, this is a huge product that we're really excited to just add to our arsenal. Now, I said the beauty of this product here is that its content of the amount of ursolic acid in it. So each capsule has 50 milligrams of ursolic acid. Now it says 300 here because it's recommending a daily doses of 6 capsules. But if you look at like a holy basil, if you have a holy basil product at home, it has only about 2.5 milligrams. That's what I found on the market was I was searching for a good product. It only has about 2.5 milligrams of ursolic acid in it. So you're talking about 2.5 per capsule or 50 per capsule. It's a huge difference. And the beauty is this isn't even an expensive product. I think we have it on our store for, I think it's $29 for 90 capsules. So if you took 3 a day for $29, it's a great help for those people that have cancer to help slow the progression of their cancer. We're going to start using it in a lot of our patients. And as a preventative for viruses. So you talk about a viral preventative, or what do I want to do to help boost my immune system and hopefully prevent some issues with different viruses that are out there. I would say this is a good addition. We're going to add this to our adult immune boosting bundle. Now we go a little bit deeper in this because remember that TMPRSS2 inhibitor that we're searching for, avenues of COVID-19 therapy in the first article. We talked about anti-ACE2 antibodies, and then also additionally this great big long word here, inhibitors trying to block that pathway. So this right here is actually a gene. There's a gene for the TMPRSS2 that makes a certain protein that if we can inhibit that protein, we can help block the SARS COVID entry into host cells. So the anti-ACE2 antibodies block the SARS COVID enter into the body, but this inhibitor, if we can inhibit that inhibit that gene from making a protein, we can block the SARS-CoV entry into the host cells. Well, what does this gene do? If you look up this information, it actually codes a protein for the expression of certain androgen receptors. So, interesting, this ties back to my talk on prostate cancer and the new studies that are coming out on prostate cancer with androgen receptor 3. So if we can use different products that help block those androgen receptors, just a theory here, could we help block the virus from entering into the cells? Because that's really the goal. We don't want the virus to get inside of the cells, because what a virus does when it enters our cells is it hijacks our cells' mechanisms to just start pumping out more viruses, and it just starts reproducing, and that's when a person starts to really get sick. So you're infected by this virus, it gets into our body through the bloodstream, and it gets into our cells through another mechanism, through these androgen receptors, and then once it's inside the cell, then it starts hijacking our system and reproducing. So if we could prevent it any way along that pathway, and the more that we can prevent it, the less problem that we're going to have from this. So even though maybe all of us are going to be exposed to the coronavirus within the next couple months, maybe 100% of us are. So if we can decrease the amount of people that are going to get really sick from it, that's what the goal is. So that is related to the androgen receptor androgen receptor, the AR receptor, besides having a high affinity to testosterone, are used by other substances. So receptors are used by other substances. And what viruses do to get into our body, there's no virus receptors on our cells. So they hijack other receptors to get into the cell. So this is one of the receptors that they hijack is the androgen receptor, SARS and the COVID virus groups. And it's believed that that the virus utilizes the androgen receptor to enter the cell. So a novel use of androgen receptor blockers may prove to help limit the virulence of the virus. So we talk about in our prostate talk is that natural androgen receptor blockers have been found to be andrographis, CG, and palmetto. And I'm not going to share the data on that. If you go to our videos on prostate cancer, you'll see I pull up a whole bunch of research article on the natural AR3 blockers are these substances. So these products, andrographis, which has been known to be a wonderful antiviral for hundreds of years, now they're talking about the possible mechanism of the antiviral benefits of andrographis and green tea extract, the catechin EGCG from green tea extract, is because it blocks the androgen receptor, which tends to be the hijacked receptor that the virus uses to enter the cells. So that's a great thing. So using these type of products may prove beneficial in our viral season to help boost our immunity, yes, but they boost our immunity by blocking the receptors that the virus hijacks to get into the cells. So natural AR blockers, andrographis, EGCG, saw palmetto. Our prostate health has saw palmetto in it. Our EGCG is the Tivigo. The ViraClear has andrographis, has some other good antivirals in it, and the Clear Immuno Plus has andrographis in it as well. It has a whole bunch of mushrooms and a whole bunch of other good immune boosters in there. So we've created an adult immune bundle, and it includes the Clear Immuno Plus, and it includes our new product, the ursolic acid product, and it includes our ViraClear product. That will give people a pretty good boost to their immune system to help prevent from viruses, bacteria, colds, flus, things like that. It's a great thing that I'll be taking all of those. And we're going to offer this as a bundle on our site and give everybody a 10% off. And it's really not even expensive. I think the whole bundle comes to $115. And certainly could be, this is going to be more than a month on this, but it would be a month's supply of both of those, so it's a pretty good deal on that. Other add-ons you could think of is liposomal vitamin C. This product, unfortunately, is just harder and harder to find liposomal vitamin C because there was a couple articles that came out that vitamin C is a great thing for this virus. Certainly boosting your immune system through polysaccharides, that's the Evolve Immune, and the berberine. The berberine is just such a great antibacterial, antifungal, antiviral as well. So those would be add-ons as well, but the main three products would be the top ones there. Well, I hope this was beneficial and you got something from it, and I tried to break that down as simple as possible. All right, thanks so much. Bye-bye.